This year, my husband Ethan was the one who suggested, "Why don't you go back to your parents' place for New Year's?" I didn't think too much about it, and agreed. But when I went to my best friend Mia's house to wish her a happy new year, the moment I stepped through the door, I saw Ethan sitting comfortably in her living room, and his role there was her boyfriend. He calmly explained, "Her family's been pressuring her to get married. I'm just helping her act out a little play to keep them quiet." Mia burst into tears, begging me not to expose them, while Ethan said I was overreacting. "If she weren't your best friend, I wouldn't even bother helping her," he said. I didn't want to cause a scene in front of the elders, so I stayed quiet. But when I turned around, I saw that my mother-in-law had posted a family photo on her social media. Mia was in the picture, her arm affectionately linked with Ethan's, looking every bit like his real wife. The caption read, "Happy New Year to our blessed family." Every word radiated satisfaction and pride about this year's celebration. In the past, every time I had gone to Ethan's family home for the new year, my mother-in-law had never posted anything like that. I clenched my phone so tightly that the veins on my hands stood out. Just earlier, Ethan had told me I was being petty, that I couldn't even tolerate him helping my best friend. Oh, he was generous. All right. Generous enough to bring his little performance straight into his own home. In that family photo, next to his parents stood their two sons. And beside each son, everyone, even the family dog, knew that only a daughter-in-law should be standing there. Yet somehow, Ethan and his whole family pretended not to notice. Anger burned in my chest. I immediately hit like and shared the post, adding my own caption, "Such a blessed family my mother-in-law has." I didn't block anyone from seeing it, not even Ethan's boss's wife or his coworkers. Sure enough, as soon as I posted it, my social feed blew up with comments. "Wait, who's that next to Ethan? Isn't his wife Lily? What's going on? Did they get divorced already? Wow, that was fast. He's got someone new?" I watched them speculate without a flicker of emotion. A few of Ethan's old childhood friends even joined the discussion. And just as I expected, less than 3 minutes later, my phone rang. "Lily, what the hell are you doing?" Ethan snapped. "What's with that post? Delete it right now. Even my boss asked me about it." I let out a cold laugh. "Your mom's the one who posted it. She seemed proud of it. I just helped her spread the love and unity of your happy family this year. It was just a staged photo. It doesn't mean anything. Don't blow this out of proportion." "Oh really?" I shot back. "You bring Mia home, pretend to be her boyfriend, and now your mom treats her like her daughter-in-law. And you still think there's anything left to explain to me?" Ethan started to lose his temper, his voice turning harsh and vulgar. Then he hung up on me. I stared at my phone screen for a while, and soon enough, my mother-in-law's post disappeared from her social feed. Ethan called again and said, "I told Mom to delete it. You should delete yours too." I thought to myself, even if we're going to get divorced, I'll make sure it's done properly. So instead of deleting the post, I simply changed the visibility to only me. Then I texted Ethan, "Go back to your mom's house. We need to talk in person." I'd seen plenty of affairs before. Husbands cheating with their wives' best friends wasn't new. But what I hadn't expected was that both the Harris family and the Miller family's fates were now in my hands, and yet they still dared to put on their little act right in front of me. When I arrived at my mother-in-law's house, it took 20 minutes of knocking before she finally came to the door. The moment she saw me, her face darkened. "I must have done something terrible in a past life to end up with such an ungrateful daughter-in-law," she snapped. "You can't even come home to take care of the elders during the new year. You're not even half as considerate as your husband's best friend. She came to visit, brought gifts, and even cooked a whole table full of food." My mother-in-law glanced at my empty hands and sneered, "This house really has no luck at all." I gave a cold laugh and walked straight into the house without bothering to change my shoes. The Harris family wasn't large, just Ethan's parents, his younger brother, and his brother's wife. Ethan's brother, Daniel, looked away the moment he saw me, avoiding eye contact. I let out a bitter chuckle in my mind. So, they did no shame after all. It was obvious that compared to me, the actual daughter-in-law, my mother-in-law was far more satisfied with Mia. Fine then. Today, Ethan and I would settle this once and for all. They could have Mia as their perfect daughter-in-law. Divorce me, and everyone would be happier. Daniel didn't expect me to be so blunt. He pressed his lips together and mumbled, "Come on, Lily, it's not that serious. Maybe you're just overthinking it." I shot him a sharp look, and he immediately fell silent. It was another half hour before Ethan finally arrived. As soon as he stepped through the door, he clicked his tongue in irritation. "Lily, do you seriously have nothing better to do? Why did you come to my mom's house now? I already told you, I was just helping Mia. She's your best friend, remember? I only helped because of you." I stared at the man I'd lived with for 3 years. In all that time, he had never once slipped up, not even so much as glanced at another woman. But now, the way he was trying to justify himself sounded exactly like the kind of man I used to think he wasn't. "You never told me about this," I said quietly. "You told me not to come home for New Year's, but then you brought another woman here instead. And now you're saying I'm the one being unreasonable? I didn't even know you two were in private contact." Ethan knew me well enough to see that I was serious this time. He softened his voice. "Baby, don't overthink this, okay? I didn't mean anything by it. Even if Mia has feelings for me, I'd never return them." So that was it. Mia liked him, but he was trying to convince me that his heart belonged to me. I said nothing, just looked at him quietly, but his mother couldn't keep her mouth shut. "So what if my son is a man women like?" she snapped. "That's because he's attractive. You, on the other hand, you're not filial to your in-laws. You don't take care of your husband, and you refuse to have children. Do you have any idea how many times people have laughed at our family because of that? Even if my son wants to change wives, it's your own fault." So there it was, the truth behind their smiles. I narrowed my eyes and waited for Ethan's response. At first, he muttered a few weak defenses toward his mother, then stepped closer to me, grabbing my hand. "Baby, it's New Year's. Let's not make a scene, okay? I promise, I won't talk to Mia again, all right?" I tilted my head slightly. "You won't contact her, sure, but what if she contacts you?" "Don't worry," he said quickly. "Even if she does, I won't pay her any attention. I can't stand clingy girls like that. It's cheap, and I don't like it." A slow smile crept across my face. Ethan must have thought I had finally calmed down because he smiled too. But the very next second, his smile froze when he heard what I said next. "Mia, did you hear that? Ethan says you're cheap and he doesn't like you." I pulled my phone out of my pocket. On the screen, it showed an ongoing call with Mia. Ethan's mouth fell open in shock. A moment later, the call ended abruptly from her side. Then, from outside the door, a furious voice screamed, "Ethan, open the door. If you don't open it, I'll let everyone know I'm pregnant with your child." The sound of Mia pounding on the door echoed through the house, and for the first time in my life, I truly understood what it meant to be so angry you could laugh. Just like right now, the fury bubbling inside me felt almost unreal. The hatred boiling inside me had reached its peak, yet all I could do was let out a helpless laugh. So Mia was pregnant with Ethan's child. What a wonderful surprise for the day. Before she showed up, I only suspected that the two of them were secretly involved. But now, their filthy relationship was completely confirmed. Ethan's face went pale with panic, so much so that anyone could see it. He stood frozen, glancing back and forth between me and the door. I clenched my teeth. "What are you looking at me for? Open the damn door. Or do you want her to scream until the whole neighborhood knows?" Ethan gasped, then spun around and rushed to open the door. The moment Mia stepped inside, she slapped him hard across the face. "What did you promise me before New Year's?" she shouted. "You said you'd divorce Lily right after the holiday, before anyone could see my belly grow. And now you tell her all that crap? Ethan, do you think I'm that easy to fool?" Ethan blinked rapidly, frantically signaling her to stop, his eyes darting with panic. He was practically blinking himself blind, but nothing could stop Mia's mouth once she started. She shoved him aside, lifted her chin, and strode right up to me. "Lily," she said sharply, "you never wanted to get married, and you don't want to have children. So why are you still holding on to the title of Ethan's wife? I'm willing to give him a child, take care of his parents, and everyone in his family prefers me anyway. So why can't you just let go?" From the time we were kids, Mia's greatest talent had always been stabbing me in the back. In middle school, she was jealous because I always ranked first in class, so she stole the class fund and blamed it on me. In high school, the boy she liked had a crush on me, so she spread rumors all over school that I had a skin disease. I had always known what kind of person she truly was, but I had no choice but to keep up appearances, because her father once saved my mother's life. That debt had kept me silently enduring her presence all these years, even helping her family behind the scenes. And now, looking at her standing there with her hand on her hip, I could tell she truly believed Ethan was her property. I let out a scornful laugh. So that's the woman Ethan called cheap? Mia's face twisted with fury as she raised her hand to slap me, but Ethan quickly caught her wrist. She shook him off violently and turned to yell at his family. Ethan, your brother and sister-in-law only have their jobs because of me. When your dad got drunk and caused that car accident, I was the one who found a lawyer and got him out so he could spend New Year's at home. And your mom? I was the one who pulled strings to make her head of the neighborhood committee. I've done so much for your family, and now you're taking her side against me? Mia's voice grew shrill as she listed every favor she'd done for them, desperate to make Ethan remember how much she'd supposedly sacrificed. Ethan looked cornered, his eyes flicking between us. I know, but calm down, okay? Be careful of the baby, he said in a low, placating tone. Mia seemed comforted by that and immediately clung to his arm. Lily, I'm the one who truly fits Ethan. You're too cold and proud. Someone like you isn't suited for marriage. You should just divorce him. It's the best choice for everyone. I looked straight at Ethan. Ethan, do you agree? You really can't live without a child, can you? He stayed silent, but the answer was written all over his face. I let out a dry laugh. Fine, then let's talk about how we'll divide the assets. Mia cut in instantly. No need. She can keep everything. Whatever Ethan gave her, I'll give it back to him myself. That way, you two can really be done with each other, right? She squeezed Ethan's hand tightly. He pressed his lips together and nodded. So that was it. They'd already made up their minds. With things this clear, there was no point in me saying another word. When I walked out of the Harris house, I saw Mia standing in the doorway, looking smug, like a hen that had just won a fight. I got into my car and called my assistant. Start preparing, I said calmly. Once the divorce goes through, the Harris family won't have any reason to keep ties with the Miller family. And just as I drove away, I heard that Ethan's mother, my mother-in-law, posted another family photo on her social media. This time, she was even more arrogant. Whenever someone asked, she proudly introduced Mia as her new daughter-in-law, talking about how capable, well-connected, and family-oriented she was, calling her a rare and exceptional woman. But what my mother-in-law didn't know was that the perfect daughter-in-law she bragged about was walking down a path that I had already paved for her and her family. Even that neighborhood committee leader position my mother-in-law was so proud of? It had taken nothing more than a single word from me to make it happen. She had always disapproved of me, complaining that I stayed home all day, didn't go to work, and refused to have children. In her eyes, I was nothing but a parasite living off her son. What she didn't realize was that the so-called prestigious job her son had was also something I had arranged for him. Without my help, Ethan never would have gotten his foot in the door. After Ethan and I agreed to divorce, he didn't contact me once. Later, I saw on social media that Mia had posted about getting married. The date she mentioned just so happened to be the exact same day Ethan and I were scheduled to finalize our divorce. So that was his plan all along. Divorce in the morning, marry in the afternoon. On the day of the divorce, Ethan arrived early, driving a Mercedes provided by Mia's company, wearing that same smug, self-satisfied expression. He had made an appointment ahead of time, so the process went quickly. Stamps, signatures, and just like that, our 3-year marriage ended completely. As I walked out of the civil office, I ran right into Mia coming in. She smiled at me, light and cheerful, like she was walking on air. Moments later, she and Ethan came back out together, holding up their marriage certificate for photos. She even kissed him right there in front of me, just to make a point. When they saw me still waiting for my car, they started showing off even more. Lily, Mia called out sweetly, whatever Ethan left at your place, can you pack it up and send it to us? Oh, never mind. It's probably nothing valuable anyway. You can just throw it out. I gave her a thin smile. You two left the house and the savings to me. So where exactly are you planning to live? Ethan glanced at Mia, who replied proudly, my company's arranged everything. We'll be staying in a luxury apartment downtown. Oh, and thanks to me, Ethan's brother and sister-in-law are now working at my company too. The Mercedes we drove here? That's company issued as well. Lily, if life ever gets tough for you, just tell us. We'll help however we can. I pressed my lips together and asked flatly, so everything you have now, the car, the apartment, the jobs, all comes from the company? What will you do if one day the company takes it all back? Sleep on the streets? Mia laughed condescendingly. You worry too much. I'm indispensable at the company. Even the CEO's assistant says I'm brilliant, and the CEO himself knows my value. What you're describing will never happen. I raised an eyebrow, letting out a quiet, knowing, oh, and called my assistant to pick me up. Mia hooked her arm through Ethan's and strutted toward the Mercedes. She made a show of revving the engine loudly, the noise echoing down the street. I simply stood there watching them, thinking how utterly ridiculous they looked. Just then, my assistant Lucas hurried over, but before he could reach me, Mia called out, oh, Lucas, what a coincidence seeing you here. She jumped out of the car and rushed toward him, plastering on her most flattering smile. But Lucas's eyes never even flicked toward her. He walked straight past and stopped in front of me. Director Tan, he said respectfully, I've brought the documents you asked for. I took the folder from him, signed my name, my full professional name, under the stunned gaze of both Mia and Ethan. Then Lucas turned back toward Mia, expression cold and formal. Miss Miller, he said clearly, you've been terminated from your position at the company. Effective immediately. You have 72 hours to clear your desk. She was ordered to return the company-issued house and car, complete the handover of her work, or face legal action from the company. Mia's mouth fell open as she frowned. Lucas, what are you talking about? I don't understand. She looked at Ethan in confusion before quickly pulling Lucas aside. Lucas, I haven't had a chance to visit you for New Year's yet, but I prepared a gift for you weeks ago. Don't be mad at me, okay? My other assistant, Leo, shot Lucas a knowing look and gave him 2 light pats on the arm, but Lucas stepped back immediately, avoiding Mia like she was contagious. His tone was firm and professional. Miss Miller, please mind your boundaries. Your termination was personally approved by President Tan. From this moment on, you are no longer an employee of Swanhaven Corporation. Lucas's calm but guarded attitude made Mia's expression begin to shift. For the first time, she seemed to realize something was wrong. She snatched the folder from his hand, flipped through a few pages, then furiously threw it to the ground. This is ridiculous. Lucas, how much did Lily pay you to put on this act with her? A termination letter signed by her. What kind of joke is that supposed to be? Her eyes blazed with fury as she glared at me. Ethan bent down to pick up the papers and glanced through them, but when his eyes landed on the name at the bottom, Tan Shurian, he froze. He repeated the name under his breath, Tan Shurian. His expression changed completely as he looked up at me. Lily, that's not you, is it? I curved my lips into a small smile. So, you finally remember. Yes, he remembered now that Lily was a name I had chosen for myself. My real name was Tan Shurian, a name he had only learned when we got married. Tan Shurian was the name my father gave me. The surname Tan came from him. Liu, or Lily, was my mother's family name. My parents' marriage had been a tragedy, a union arranged between 2 old families, completely devoid of love. Their life together was miserable, and when I was only 3 months old, my father began an affair with his childhood sweetheart, the woman he'd always loved. Heartbroken and humiliated, my mother took me and fled to this city with nothing, no money, no family inheritance, determined to live independently. But life wasn't kind to her. A single mother abandoned by her husband, raising a child alone, she was constantly bullied and taken advantage of. If it hadn't been for Mia's parents, who helped her during that time, we might not have survived. Years later, when my father passed away from illness, he left all his assets to me. Remembering my mother's words, I quietly repaid the kindness the Miller family had shown us. I supported them from the shadows, helping them whenever I could. Mia had never known who I truly was. She always believed she was superior to me. But now, Ethan's words had planted a seed of doubt in her mind. Her expression darkened. Huh? Are you serious? How could Tan Shurian, the CEO of one of the country's top corporations, have anything to do with a housewife like her? Ethan pressed his lips together, speechless, because in that moment, he realized something shocking, something he had never even imagined. Lucas shot Mia a cold glance before stepping behind me. Miss Miller, he said, his tone precise and emotionless, the person standing before you is President Tan Shurian. Everything you once had, the car, the apartment, your position at the company, was personally authorized by her. Therefore, her signature on your termination letter makes it fully effective. I suggest you face reality and promptly return all company property before leaving the premises. His voice carried no hint of warmth, only the detached chill of authority. And then I watched as a parade of emotions flickered across Mia's face. Confusion, shock, disbelief, and finally, a kind of desperate madness. After Lucas helped me into the car, he immediately took action under the company's name to reclaim all assets. He got into Mia's Mercedes and drove it away. Through the rearview mirror, I saw Mia pointing wildly in my direction, screaming at the top of her lungs. But whatever she was shouting, I didn't bother to listen anymore. After leaving the civil office, I stopped by the house I used to share with Ethan to collect a few personal items. Then I immediately sold it through a real estate agent at the lowest possible price. The agent was so worried I might change my mind that they rushed the entire process, finishing the sale at lightning speed. What they didn't know was that I was the one eager to get rid of it as quickly as possible. When I stepped out of the house where I had lived for 3 years, I didn't even have time to feel sentimental before my mother called. Her voice was gentle, asking where I was, and she told me to come home for a bit. The moment I walked through the door, I saw Mia sitting in the living room, wiping tears from her face. Her parents were sitting beside her, looking annoyed and disapproving, while my mother's expression was filled with helpless guilt. I didn't need anyone to explain. I already knew exactly what was going on. Ever since the day Mr. and Mrs. Miller helped my mother years ago, she had always treated them with deference, agreeing to whatever they asked, never saying no. In truth, what my family had done to repay their so-called kindness had far exceeded the favor from back then, many times over. But still, whenever the Millers came to ask for something, my mother could never bring herself to refuse. Mia started crying harder. I don't even know what I did wrong to make Lily hate me so much. I just wanted to follow my heart, to protect the love of my life. Is that really so wrong? She didn't even care about right or wrong. She used her power to have me fired. How am I supposed to live after this? She threw herself at my mother's legs, clutching them dramatically. My mother hurried to comfort her, saying softly, I know, Mia. Please, stand up, dear. Let her cry, let her keep acting. My voice was cold as I crossed my arms, standing there watching the show. Mia looked up at me, tears streaming down her cheeks. Auntie, she sobbed. I've always seen Lily as my own sister. Ever since we were little, my parents told me to give in to her, to protect her. This time, I only acted on my feelings just once for myself. Lily only ended an unhappy marriage. If I don't follow my heart now, I'll lose the most precious love of my life. I couldn't help but laugh. I'd heard lines like that before, straight out of a bad TV drama. Seeing my indifference, her parents grew even more upset. Lily, Mr. Miller said sharply, no matter what, our families have always been close. You practically grew up eating at our house. Back then, I even gave up half of what Mia had so you could have a better life. You might not be grateful, but you shouldn't be this cruel. Perfect. He was bringing up the past again, exactly the kind of thing that would make my mother feel even more guilty. I decided it was time to cut this tie once and for all. Mr. and Mrs. Miller, I said evenly. I'm not being cruel, but Mia has crossed the line. In just 2 years working for the company, she's taken dirty money totaling over $1 million yuan. The reports and evidence I've received would be enough to put her behind bars for more than 15 years. What do you think I should do? Mia's eyes widened in shock. You're lying, she shouted, looking desperately to her parents for help, but their faces had gone pale. Lily, that sounds awful, Mrs. Miller stammered. How could it be that serious? I shrugged lightly. I don't have any other choice. If you don't believe me, I can hand the evidence over to the Audit and Investigation Department. They'll submit it to the authorities for verification. That way, no one will say I accused Mia unfairly. Mr. and Mrs. Miller quickly pulled their daughter to her feet, urging her to leave. As they walked out, Mia turned her head and glared at me, her eyes burning with hatred and resentment. My mother grabbed my hand nervously. What are you planning to do next? The Miller family might not let this go easily. I smiled faintly. Don't worry, Mom. If things get out of hand, I'll return to the Tan family. My mother fell silent. Returning to the Tan family meant becoming Tan Shurian again. Even though I had inherited my father's estate, every cent of it was tainted. Payment for the sins he committed when he betrayed my mother before their marriage. My father had never once fulfilled his duty as a parent. I never felt any emotional attachment to the Tan family, which was why I'd always quietly lived as Lily, an ordinary woman by my mother's side. Mom, I said softly, I know you don't want to go back to the Tan family, and that's okay. I can handle things. She sighed, her voice trembling. It's my fault. If it weren't for that old debt to the Miller family, we wouldn't be tangled up in this mess today. I gently took her hand, comforting her. Mom, you're a lady of grace and dignity. You shouldn't have to worry about anything. Just stay beautiful and elegant. That's more than enough. Hearing that, she finally smiled faintly, the tension in her shoulders easing just a bit. Just as we had seen the Millers off, my phone rang again. It was the real estate agent. Miss Lynn, the agent said nervously, still using my alias. What's going on with this house? We came to take possession, but there's a man here, someone named Mr. Ha, who refuses to leave. He's blocking the door, saying the house is his. You're not scamming us, are you? The deed is in your name, and we've already signed the contract. Maybe you should come over. This is really awkward for us. I hung up and sighed, then told Lucas to wait for me downstairs. My mother pressed her lips together, looking guilty. Ethan had been the man she had carefully chosen for me, believing he was steady and dependable. Now, after everything he'd done, he was no different from my father, weak, selfish, and shameless. She was probably thinking the same thing I was. How could the two of us, mother and daughter, be cursed with the same fate? I curved my lips into a small smile and hugged her. Mom, I don't love Ethan anymore. Don't feel sorry for me or sad about him. In my mother's heart, she had never stopped loving my father. The deeper her love, the deeper her hate. She was terrified that I would end up like her, spending my whole life trapped in a love that led nowhere. But I wasn't her. From the moment I learned Mia was pregnant, both she and Ethan had been erased from my life completely. When Lucas and I arrived back at the old house, Ethan was leaning against the front door, his expression twisted with fury. If anyone dares to touch my house today, I'll fight them all. He was shouting wildly when he turned and saw me. Lily, these people are saying this house belongs to them. Call the police right now. What are you yelling for? I said calmly, walking closer. I sold the house, it's theirs now. You should leave and stop making a fool of yourself. Ethan stepped in front of me, shouting, What right do you have to sell my house? I bought this place, it's marital property. You can't just sell it without my consent. I raised an eyebrow, my voice steady. We settled all that in our divorce agreement, didn't we? You clearly stated that you didn't want any of the assets. The terms were written in black and white, with your signature at the bottom. Did you forget already? I at that time, he stammered. I cut him off. This house is in my name only, Ethan. You have no right to interfere. I nodded to the agents, who quickly gathered their things and left. Ethan followed behind me, staggering like a lost soul. Lily, he muttered, you've been lying to me this whole time. Why did you deceive me? Suddenly, he lunged toward me. Before I could react, Lucas grabbed him by the sleeve, twisted his arm, and slammed him hard against the floor. Ethan hit the ground face first, the sound echoing through the room. I'll sue you. I'm going to sue you both, he yelled, grimacing in pain but too afraid to move. I bent down slightly, my gaze cold. I know exactly what Lucas is capable of. Even if you get a medical report and call the police, it'll just end in civil mediation. We'll pay a small fine and be done with it. Lily, you hid your true identity and tricked me into divorcing you. Ethan spat out. Then you fired Mia just to get revenge. You think I don't see what kind of venomous woman you really are? I'll expose you for what you are so everyone can see your true face. I straightened up slowly, then lifted my foot and kicked at his head. He instinctively dodged, stumbling to his feet. I smiled faintly, my tone dripping with sarcasm. Didn't you and Mia beg me for this divorce? You're not that special anymore. I said coldly. Didn't you say you were leaving everything to me? Didn't you say you two would move on to better things? What's the matter, forgotten already? Ethan's face flushed red. He made a move toward me again, but Lucas immediately stepped in front of me. Realizing he couldn't win in a fight, Ethan stopped short and backed away a few steps in frustration. You fired Mia just to see us suffer, didn't you? He spat. Well, I'm warning you, Mia won't let this go. If you don't withdraw that termination, don't blame us for being ruthless. I gave a short laugh. You? A man who lived off his wife for 3 years, threatening me now? Impressive. You'll regret this, just wait, he growled, before storming off. Lucas leaned closer and reminded me quietly, people like him can be unpredictable. It's best to stay cautious. But in truth, I had provoked Ethan on purpose. If I wanted to end this cleanly, I had to make sure they showed all their cards. And I was right, because once they started fighting back, Mia went all in. She began by hiring paparazzi to secretly follow me. They photographed me and Lucas together whenever we appeared in the same place, carefully picking out suggestive angles. Soon after, a post appeared online titled, "After divorcing Ethan Harris, Lily seduces her senior executive and gets herself fired." Mia played the victim perfectly, writing that she only wanted justice and hoped people would see how cruelly I had treated her. The post went viral in hours. Online, people who knew nothing about the truth but loved to gossip swarmed to comment. Most came only to attack me. What a shameless woman. She's spiteful and vindictive, ruined her ex-husband's whole family out of revenge. Guess money really does corrupt people's morals. Ethan joined in the act, claiming that I had tricked him, selling the house his entire family had worked their whole lives to buy, and keeping all the money for myself. According to them, his parents were now homeless, and poor Mia had lost her job because of me. They painted themselves as victims of my cruelty, and the internet ate it up. That woman Lily is terrible. She divorced the guy and still ruined his family. Even if they were married before, doesn't she have any conscience left? Wait, wasn't the house joint property? She totally scammed him. Classic heartless ex-wife. Maybe the husband did something wrong, though? Wrong? His parents just went online saying she never came home for New Year's, never cared for them, and refused to have kids. Figures, raised by a single mom, no sense of family. At that moment, I was sitting quietly at home when Lucas called. President Tan, he said carefully, Ethan's parents are live streaming right now. They're publicly accusing you of being unfilial when you were their daughter-in-law, and for refusing to bear children for the Harris family. How many viewers? I asked flatly. Over 10,000, and most of them are siding with them, attacking you in the comments. Lucas, I said, what do you think I should do right now? He hesitated. With your current position, ma'am, you don't really need to hold back anymore. Lucas had been the most trusted aide my father left me. I never knew exactly what orders my father had given him before his death, but his loyalty to me was absolute. He never bowed to anyone, not even to the elders of the Tan family. If I so much as frowned, he'd be ready to flip the world upside down for me. Fine, I said calmly. Prepare a press conference. If the name Lily keeps getting dragged through the mud, then let Tan Shurian step forward instead. The press conference was held under the official banner of Swan Haven Corporation, its stated purpose to address Mia's public claim that she was unjustly terminated. Lucas handled the arrangements flawlessly. That day, the venue was packed with reporters from every major outlet. The situation had become so explosive that all 4 of the company's division heads attended in person. When it was time to speak, Lucas took the stage. His voice was clear, confident, and coldly professional. In response to the recent public claims made by Ms. Mia Miller regarding her termination, he began. Swanhaven Corporation hereby confirms that the decision to dismiss her was made in full compliance with internal policy. The process was completely fair and transparent. Miss Miller was dismissed due to a serious professional violation. All procedures were handled lawfully and in full compliance with company regulations, Lucas continued, his voice calm and steady. Someone in the audience suddenly called out, "Didn't they say President Tan would make a personal appearance? Where is she?" I gave Lucas a subtle nod, signaling him to step back. Then, under the blinding flash of hundreds of cameras, I walked onto the stage. "Wait, isn't that Lily?" Someone in the crowd whispered. "She looks exactly like the woman in those photos." "Is she really involved with that assistant?" Another voice muttered. "What's she doing here?" "Trying to defend herself, then she's basically admitting it." I raised the corner of my lips slightly, my expression calm and detached as I swept my eyes across the crowd. "Good afternoon, everyone," I said coolly. "I'm Tan Shurian." The entire hall erupted. Reporters, viewers in the live stream, everyone started buzzing. I could already hear the murmurs spreading. "She's Ethan Harris's ex-wife, the same Ethan who's now married to Mia Miller." I continued, my tone unwavering. "Yes, Ethan Harris, the man who is currently Mia's husband, was once my husband. But according to our divorce agreement, every shared asset was legally transferred to me. There is a signed contract to prove this. Therefore, any property decisions I make are my own right. As for Mia Miller's termination, it was personally approved and signed by me. She was dismissed for committing serious professional misconduct, specifically taking bribes and falsifying reports in a project she managed. All of this is supported by documented evidence." The crowd stirred restlessly, reporters whispering to one another. Finally, one of them stood up and asked boldly, "Wait, weren't you Lily Lynn? How did you suddenly become Tan Shurian?" "Lynn is my mother's surname," I replied calmly. "I've never denied that." Just then, an icy voice rang out from the back of the hall. "She's not really part of the Tan family at all." All heads turned as Mia strutted in, her chin lifted high, clutching a stack of papers. She flung the documents toward the press. "This woman was abandoned by the Tan family long ago. She's no real heiress." She faced the reporters, her voice sharp and triumphant. "I've done my research. Years ago, after Lily and her mother left the Tan family, her father, Tan Lang, married the woman he truly loved, his childhood sweetheart. They had a son together. Tell me, if he already had a legitimate son, why would he ever give his entire corporation to a daughter who doesn't even acknowledge him as her father and left the family years ago?" Her words sent an immediate shockwave through the hall. The media lived for scandals among the elite, and Mia's claims were explosive. Cameras flashed non-stop. "Lily Lynn, you have no right to stand here." Mia shouted, "You'll never be the noble Tan Shurian. You'll always just be Lily, an imposter pretending to be something you're not." Before I could respond, a calm, authoritative voice echoed through the hall. "Who says she isn't?" The crowd fell silent. Slowly, an elderly man in a wheelchair appeared at the entrance, escorted by several attendants. It was Mr. Tan, the patriarch of the Tan family, my grandfather. Though he had retired from public life for years, his presence still carried immense weight and respect. "My son never divorced Shurian's mother," he said firmly, his voice filled with strength. "She is the only legitimate daughter of the Tan family, and she will inherit everything we have. That so-called son is nothing more than a child from a mistress. His name isn't even recorded in our family registry." Behind him stood my mother, elegant in a pale silk cheongsam, her long hair pinned up with a jade comb. She looked serene and graceful, like a vision out of a painting. I knew she had gone to find my grandfather for my sake. No matter how indebted she felt toward the Miller family, she would never allow anyone to humiliate her daughter. I stepped down from the stage and stopped in front of my grandfather. Lowering my head slightly, I said softly, "Grandfather." A deep huff escaped his lips, as if he were pretending to be angry, but his voice trembled with warmth and pride. "Finally, willing to call me that, are you?" Ever since I had taken over the company and led it to success, he had never again questioned my ability. He reached out and patted my hand. "You and your mother have endured enough over the years. From now on, I won't let either of you suffer again." The press conference ended shortly after, but not before the investigation team arrived. In full view of the media, they walked straight to Mia and placed handcuffs on her wrists. She screamed hysterically, thrashing against their hold. "Lily, this is all your fault." You did this to me. I swear I won't let you get away with it. As Lucas and I exited the building, I noticed Ethan standing near the doorway, his posture stiff, his eyes darting nervously. I could tell Ethan wanted to say something more to me, but he couldn't take even a single step closer. The Tan family's security team was large, disciplined, and uncompromising. They would never allow him near me again. My mother was formally invited back into the Tan household, and I returned to my own villa. I later heard that Mia's parents went all the way to the Tan estate to beg my mother for mercy. They cried and pleaded, asking her to spare their daughter because Mia was their only child. But this time, no one had to intervene. My mother herself threw them out of the gate without a moment's hesitation. The last time I saw Ethan was by the river, the very place where we had first met. He had contacted Lucas and asked for one final meeting. I agreed. When I arrived, he was already there, waiting. He had even made an effort to dress neatly, while I intentionally wore the same outfit I'd had on the day we first met. "Even if you're no longer my Lily," he began, his voice trembling, "the woman I love will always be you." I crossed my arms. "Say whatever you came to say." "I'm sorry," he blurted before suddenly dropping to his knees in front of me. "I was wrong, Lily. I made a mistake." Tears rolled down his face, crocodile tears, carefully performed. "I was deceived by Mia, and I let my parents influence me. They kept whispering in my ear, saying you were cold, distant, unwilling to give me a child, unfilial to them. Little by little, they made me believe it. But deep down, the one I've always loved is you." I tilted my head slightly, looking down at him. For a fleeting second, the image of the day he confessed his love to me flashed through my mind. He had once told me that, though I seemed cold on the outside, I was someone who longed deeply to be loved. He said he knew I had only myself to rely on, and that he wanted to protect me, to be strong for me. "Ethan," I said softly, "I understand you perfectly." His eyes brightened with hope, as if he thought there was still a chance for forgiveness. I continued, "Before we got married, you fancied yourself a hero who could rescue me. But marriage, with all its dull realities, stripped away your illusion. You stopped wanting to be a hero. Instead, you turned to Mia, someone who could give you comfort and advantage. And now that she's lost everything and can't help you anymore, you realize I was the one with real power all along. So you come crawling back." "No, Lily, that's not true. It's not like that," he protested, shaking his head frantically. I stared at his pathetic, desperate face and said coolly, "I heard you've been isolated at work. Maybe now you finally understand. They only kept you around out of respect for me." Ethan lowered his head, fists clenching tightly at his sides. "You really are disgusting," I said, turning to leave without another glance. Later, Lucas told me that Ethan had stood there for a long time after I left, crying as he stared at the spot where I'd disappeared. He thought he was mourning the loss of me. But I knew better. What he was really grieving was the comfortable, privileged future he'd thrown away. As for love, as for sincerity, those things had never truly existed between us. And that was the end of it all.